Okay, here we are again. My makeup person demanded the day off today, so I look even worse than normal. That's supposed to be a joke. Um, anyway, okay, we have a couple of things to talk about today. First of all, most of your essays are terrific. Okay, but I want to talk a little bit about setting because I want to make sure that all of you really understand what setting means. Okay, everybody understood, of course, the concept of place and the concept of weather. But I have like a little piece of lettuce or something stuck in my throat and it's giving me a runny nose. So sorry about that. And if I cough, that's the reason for it. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, so be it. So anyway, all of you talked about weather. All of you talked about place. Um, but in to build a fire, I really feel that the time period is also a critical element. Now, you read that story, fast forward to this year, okay? With our technology, first of all, a person would have more advance warning of what the weather conditions were really going to be like. Secondly, with our advanced technology, if a person got in trouble like that, he could probably have some kind of way to communicate. Now, you might say, well, there aren't any cell towers in the Yukon, and you might be right. But we have to have some communication devices that bounce off satellites that would work. And so that kind of thing would be part of it. Also, if somebody were walking this trail during the 50 below, 60 below kinds of temperatures, if they decided to walk it and got into trouble, you could zip out with some kind of a snowmobile and rescue them in today's world. But said 100 or so years ago, as the story was, all of that stuff wasn't existing yet. So setting also includes the time period when a story takes place. And again, you can bring in other time periods to help make your point about setting be more relevant, okay? So I wanted to make sure I touched upon that because not too many of you, I only remember so far one essay that has talked about the time period and the technology of today. Um, and I think that's an important point in this story. I think it's a gripping story, though. Boy, if you just read through it, it's like, holy cow. One of the other things that actually is pretty important about the time period is this: that in today's world, if somebody were to actually catch the husky and kill it and skin it to try to save his own life, and he did survive, he might be prosecuted for animal cruelty. Okay? In that world, in that time period, in that wilderness, certainly those kinds of ideas would not be part of it. So you can see how time period is also part of the whole setting piece. Okay? Hopefully you get that idea. Okay, with your essays in general, you're doing a very, very good job. Um, a couple of people need to be more detailed. There are a few people that just touch upon a few things and try to put it together and think that they're done with it, and they just are not coming up to the level of the rest of the class. I strongly encourage you to read a few other people's essays from last week or the week before or next, the upcoming week, so you can see the depth that other people are going to, unless you want to end up with a C. But if you expect to get an A or an A minus or a B plus or something, you need to be more detailed on that. In general, your comments are quite good. Some people almost seem like they're afraid to offend somebody. It's okay. You're not going to offend anybody because this is all um, educational discussion, debate. It's how we all grow. Okay? So, a couple of matters that I needed to talk about there. Something else I put in the notes is this, that starting October 10, 11, those 2 days are our fall break. And I'm sure in your mind, fall break actually starts this Friday, October 7th. Okay? Now, the week of October 9, 10, and etc., we will not have an assignment due at the end of that week because that's also midterm week that week and going into the beginning of the next week, October, what's it going to be, 16, 17. And so we're going to take our break from this class after the assignment on theme is due. We're going to have our fall break that way, okay? So I want your assignments in, no later than next weekend. And if you want to put them in early, that's great. I would really appreciate that. But then, then you'll have a week off before we hop back to it. Okay, now with theme, that's what we're talking about this week. And it's important that you don't confuse theme with any other factors. Theme is a combination of all of the elements. Everything that we've talked about so far is part of the theme. Okay? So, is it the same thing as the moral of the story? Not really. It's much more the reason why the story was written, what the author is truly trying to say. The moral of the story, a lot of times you can put together in a single word or two. Theme is more than that. Theme is not simple. Theme, again, is the actual meaning of the story. Okay? That's what the author is trying to get us to get at. When he writes the story, is get at his meaning to some degree. Now, that's going to change depending on who we are, where we've been, what we've done, the experiences we've had in our lives. So the theme to any one of you and any of the works that we've done may be significantly different than the theme that I get from a story. And that's not wrong. That's okay. You and I have had different experiences. You and I have had different lives. Obviously, I'm sure none of you have the hair color that I have. So, my life has lent me to many, many more years of experiences as well as many more different kinds of experiences. So what happens in a work is going to affect me differently than it's going to affect you. Okay? That's real life, So as you're looking for a theme, put together what a character is trying to do. Put together the setting, everything with the setting, all the things we've talked about. Put together the plot, the order that things come in. Think about the ironies that occur in a story. Think about all of the things that we've talked about so far. Think about why we might have a first-person narrator instead of a third-person narrator, or why we may have a really involved first-person, really involved, or we might have an omniscient, as we saw in A Rose for Emily, we had kind of a semi-omniscient narrator. So think about all those factors as you try to decipher what the meaning, what the theme, what the author had in mind, what reason the author had for telling this story. Okay? You know where to get in touch with me if you have any questions. Have a great week. It's probably going to be 2 weeks before you have to see me again. Okay? Enjoy.